Hello, hello out there to all the Millionaire by Morning listeners, to the future millionaires out there, to the people who woke up this morning and said, something has got to change. I have to make a change. I need to find a way. Well, I have a guest on for you today. Her name is Gwendolyn. She is the idea doula. Let me explain to you what that is. She helps motivate innovators like yourself to create and monetize their ideas so they can birth a legacy. The work she does for her clients is to have clarity. It has resulted in $100,000 launch and a 10 times growth in business. So this is someone you want to pull up your chair, you want to, download this and jump on the treadmill and really tune into. Gwendolyn, I'd like to welcome you to the Millionaire by Morning show this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so, oh man, let's get straight into it because this is something that I'm really interested in. And I'll tell you how interested that I am. I'm not really big on Instagram. And here recently, I did a coaching program. And in that coaching program, it was very intensive. During that coaching program, they had one person to come in and be a guest speaker. That one guest speaker was a copywriter. That copywriter, after everything that I went through, there was no one that I followed. I didn't know much about Instagram. But I will say, when I seen that person, after that person spoke, the copywriter, I went and followed that person, the first person ever, for notifications, following, and basically notifications is
Give me what you
that
got.
copywriter.
Yeah.
It was the copywriter. They had something so intense to tell, so much to show that people can take with them, that I figured that was the one gem that if anyone was to take with them together, it should be a copywriter, the correct copywriter.
Yeah.
And then I came across you. I came across you as a guest on my show. So now I get to speak with the copywriter. I get to tell the world about a copywriter. I read your website, and it's so intriguing the way that you just based everything around your copy on the website. So let's get into it, Gwendolyn. Take us back to before you was a copywriter and kind of transition how you even got into it.
Yeah. So before I was a copywriter for 10 years, so my whole education, my bachelor's, my master's is in opera performance. And for 10 years, I was a professional opera singer in Germany and in California, and got to some of the top stages in the world. Was very lucky to get to sing on those stages, mostly in the opera chorus, but also I did some solo work. And it was a blessed life. It was really fun. You always had to be on, always watching out for your health, always like always thinking about the next thing. And at the same time, always wondering, like never really feeling like you made it, never really feeling like there was, like, for me, I'll stick with my own experience, but I know a lot of opera singers have had this. For me, it was really, I wanted so badly to be a soloist, even though I was making great money, actually better money than soloists in the chorus. I wanted to be a soloist so bad because I thought then I would have permission to be an artist. I would have permission to say something. And so what was really interesting to me was I was able to get a gig at the Deutsche Oper in Berlin, and I'm singing alongside these people who have made it to me, and I'm making friends with them. A lot of Americans singing, doing solo work at the Deutsche Oper in Berlin. And I was like, oh my gosh, these people also feel like they're being just pushed around on stage like little dolls, just like me, but they're the soloists. Wait, that's not how it works. I'm never going to have permission. I will not get permission to be an artist and to say what I have to say. And that's okay. Actually, what I've learned since then is you're supposed to give it to yourself. The only person who can give you that permission is yourself. And I looked up one day in 2018. I was living in Oakland, California by now. And I realized I am waiting for another round of auditions. In America, you have auditions every fall. Everyone flies to New York from all over the country. They fly to New York, spend thousands of dollars just to be able to be there and be in front of the right people and sing. And I was waiting for another round of that for a casting director to say, okay, you get to have a life now. Okay, you get to go off and live your life. And that made me so sad and angry that I thought, you know what? I don't know how our language can be on this podcast. Screw it. I need to live my life. And a month later, I was pregnant with my first child. And what opened up for me there was it was like this blank slate. Everything that I had ever worked for in my life was suddenly like it was wiped clean. It's not like none of that experience was relevant. I know that now. But everything I had ever trained for, everything my resume said I could do was kind of going into my rearview mirror. And I felt like I think the best illustration we have of this in pop culture is in The Good Place. You know, and oh, I wish I had prepared with her name. It's been a minute since I've watched the show, but you know how the 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 woman in the purple dress who always goes into the white space, and
Okay.
she basically represents God. She can just make anything, right? And she goes into the white space. There's nothing there, but at the same time, everything is there. All of the possibilities. And I sat in that space, and for a while, I was really freaked out by it. And slowly, slowly, I started to put things in it. And I wouldn't say it was always deliberately. I was still really struggling with needing to prove my worth, needing to be able to say, I do this, I am this. But I was finding that I had the power to put something in that space.
Right.
I wasn't, it wasn't me trying to climb this ladder. Like I had this amazing aha moment just a few weeks ago, actually, where I realized I had always thought I didn't have anything in common with people in corporate. I was like, I've never worked in a desk job. I have no idea what they're going through. Like it always really felt like a me and them sort of thing. And then I randomly met this woman who had gotten laid off from Salesforce. Within like 10 minutes of talking to her, we realized like she's a soulmate client of mine. And we had to work together. And she's literally been through everything I've been through because opera, opera as an industry is a corporate structure. You are literally there is a ladder to climb, and there's a top of that ladder. But even at the top of that ladder, it is still a permission-based structure. There are still more people you need to ask for permission from. Even if you get to the tippy top, then there's a board of directors you have to ask for permission from. And for one thing, how are you really supposed to make great art that way? But for another thing, like it is an unlearning. an unraveling, a discovery that we all have to go through when we've been in those permission-based structures, where we have to say, okay, if I step out of this structure, first of all, who am I? And second of all, what is it I want to make? We and I add a third one when I'm talking about it. How can I stop making myself wrong? Because in these permission-based structures, we are always telling ourselves that we're wrong, that there's something about us that is too lazy, that is unworthy. There is a reason that we've been told no, and we are telling ourselves that deep inside of us so that we can be in this structure and exist without going crazy.
Yeah.
So that was my journey. And then in 2019, I produced my first show that was my own show. And it was taking my training. My master's is in art song. And when I moved to California and I saw all of these people who were living in tents, I had people camping across the street from me. There was a church where they allowed them to camp, um, which is fine. And they came up and would ask for money from me, would ask for food because we had a porch. Um, we didn't have any furniture at the time because my husband and I literally moved to America with two large suitcases each. Uh, and so our neighbor had furniture on the porch, so we were eating on her furniture. And we'd have these random people coming up needing things from us, and coming from a place with a social safety net, it felt so alienating. I remember feeling like, who am I here? What am I? I don't belong here. Especially watching like the Teslas and all of the really nice vehicles going by on Orange Avenue. We were at the corner of Orange and Madison and Pasadena, and like watching all of these really nice cars go by on the way to Beverly Hills and Santa Monica, some of the most expensive places in the world,
Right.
and thinking, how are we allowing this? How can this be? And what started going through my head was the theme from the first song of The Winter's Journey by Schubert. It's like the pinnacle of art song, Winterreise auf Deutsch. And it goes, Fremd bin ich eingezogen, fremd zieh ich wieder aus, which is, as a stranger I came, and as a stranger I will leave. And I felt I felt like that wanderer. I felt a sense of not having a roots anymore. I had pulled up my roots in Georgia, moved to Berlin. I pulled up the roots that I had made in Berlin and moved to California. And America had changed. California has always been different than Georgia. And I did not belong anymore anywhere. And there was a kind of relationship I felt, if not material, then soul level, with people who were on the street. And I started learning the art song. I started learning the cycle, but I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was like, this is a show about housing instability, but I don't know what it means. And then I found out I was pregnant. And I was like, oh, now I know what I need to learn, because this like lily white middle class girl with higher education from the South, I've never had to face adversity. I don't know what that is. And I need I need to learn this from other mothers. I need to learn how they guide their children through this. And so I went and interviewed 5 women who had experienced housing instability in the Bay Area. By now I'm in Oakland. And they were like the wisest people I've ever met. And I made audio recordings of our interviews, just like you're doing right now. And I took clips from those interviews that were like a minute and a half long. And I would play them in a live performance of Schubert's Winter's Journey, um, basically dovetailing what they were saying in the clip with the poetry and music of the song that followed.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so kind of this multimedia thing where we got the technical journey. I asked them a lot of questions about just how do you do it, like physically, how do you get to where you need to go? How do you plan your day? But also the emotional journey and the political journey of, you know, being almost a chess piece in this whole conversation, the being the people that are always talked about rather than talked to. And how do you also like guide your kids in understanding their place in the world, um, from an empowered way? Um, and that making that show changed my life because I realized I'll never forget this moment when I walked into the church where I was performing it, and the room was set up exactly like I had imagined it.
Mhm.
Like I had a screen behind me that was projecting all of the words because I wanted people to watch and listen and not be buried in their programs. So I had the translations projected behind me, and like the piano is where I thought it would be and the chair was where I thought it would be. And it was just like all of this was in my head and now it's here in front of me. This is it. This is the thing. I have to make things. I I will never forget that first feeling. And we performed it a few times and then the pandemic happened and a lot of things fell apart mentally for me, and um we're being brought back together, but it was part of what the pandemic gave me, and all of the conversations that happened in the pandemic um, taught me that it couldn't just be me up in front telling all of these stories that aren't mine. And what's beautiful is that it opened up this perspective where I realized I can make work that not only highlights other people's voices and gives a space for them to be listened to, but I can allow other people to help me make that, and that will actually make it a better project. So I'm working right now on turning that into a series of music videos that tell the story almost like a visual album. Like if you think I'm very, very inspired by Beyonce's Lemonade, son of Janelle Monáe's work where you are getting told an entire story, but over a series of vignettes. Meanwhile, um, it gets to be 2021, and we decide to move to Atlanta, where my parents live, because being in California was like on the other edge of the planet from all of our people.
Yeah.
So, and like having a kid in a pandemic in the middle of a ton of wildfires, um, is just not a cakewalk. It's not fun. So we moved back to have that support, and it's been amazing. And right after we made the move and I was starting to look for another job, a friend called up who had been keeping track of my poetry. I had just been writing poetry since right after my son was born in the summer of 2019, just about the experience of being a mother, and like almost as a letter to my former self of like, this is really what it's like. And no, you're not going to disappear. And you're going to find your way in this. And it was really honest and raw. And I really it was really an outlet during the pandemic. And so she calls me up and she's like, I think you would be a great copywriter for my brand. And she ran a spiritual healing business. I knew her from opera. She's also an opera singer. And so I got into that launch. It was going to be her first really big launch. And up until then, she had had like 10, 15K launches. And I write for her. I get her story. I discover I'm a pretty great copywriter. And she ends up having like a 67K launch that first time. And by the end of the year, that's when we have the over 100K launch. Those were the first two launches I worked on. And it was this wild ride. And over the next year, it was like doors just kept opening. It was like everyone on her team was like, oh, we know a good copywriter now. Here, let me like refer you over to this other client I have. And I got up a little stable of clients, and it was fun and it was interesting. And pretty soon I started realizing like I was working with only women, and I realized that there was this gap where I felt like I was the only person really listening to these CEOs, these personal brands, like really listening to what they're trying to create, really listening to what they want, because I have to write in their voice. So of course I have to listen to what they want. And realizing that the power I have as a copywriter to be able to reflect back and articulate, bring words to these kind of ethereal ideas that people have that often are kind of hard to put your finger on when they're really just first getting born, that I can bring that to people. And that's actually the most fun part of this. Like, sure, I can write your landing page. Yeah, fine. I can write your funnel. But what's really fun about this is the creation process. What's really fun about this is making it specific and then making the structure to support it. And watching you then go out and be clear and inspired and specific about what you're doing. And so I started really shifting more into creative direction because that's more what that is. And over the last year, since about August of last year, I started really giving it a name. I had this like deep meditation, and the words idea doula came to me. And what was funny about that was that like I had this reaction to it where I was like, oh God, no one's going to take me seriously. And I thought, well, why do I think that? And suddenly I realized like all of the internalized misogyny that says that one of the oldest occupations in the world, a doula, is something that can't be taken seriously.
Mm.
And I said, well, looks like I have to call myself that now and become the person who can carry that name. So that's how I got here.
Okay.
30 minutes later.
Yeah, it's all good. That's what we're here for. It's all good. You just painted a picture of um I think the same reason that I'm a marketer. Like
Mm,
I started out rapping. I had these dreams of being a rapper, went on stage, signed record labels, went on tour. I did that for a nice long time. And then when it really came down to it, I was like, you know what? I think I love the art process of it. I think I love
mm,
the process. I can take a person's idea, and a lot of the times I had to promote and get out there and make flyers and make graphics and do some copywriting. And
mm-hmm,
that's the part that I can say that stuck with me and is my profession now. So I
mm,
totally get it that I believe that the whole marketing aspect, the copywriting aspect is an artistic form. Like
Mm.
that's what the actually um other than DJing and singing or performing to a beat, you are writing your story,
Mm.
for the most part. There's a tear in my beer and I'm crying for you, dear. Country song. you know, it's just someone telling their story and then it's other people relating to it. So I think that
Yeah.
that does come all together. And you've wrapped it up and put it into a business. I never guessed that this was, you say, a year old. You said August.
August, not even a year old. Gosh, what are we at? Four,
Yeah, that's my
five,
birthday.
6 months as like calling myself the idea doula. Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll have
And
to
then
check on that, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
also, doula, when you first said that, it also already puts you in a certain class. That class is going to
Mm.
people who understand what a doula is, understand what a doula does, and can afford a doula.
A doula.
So that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, um part of what I think the doula came from is my first birth was for my first child, it was pretty traumatic for me. I ended up having an emergency C-section because when I got the epidural, my vitals crashed, then my son's vitals crashed, and my son's vitals wouldn't come back up. And so I find out they're going to cut me open on the way to the operating room. I felt a deep peace about it. Like I know that's what was supposed to happen at that time. But what came out of that was this sense of like all the like I didn't have the power in this moment where I needed it. And so when it came time to make decisions about how I was going to give birth to my second child, I I decided either it's going to be an empowered scheduled C-section or it's going to be a fully natural birth because we know how my body reacts to those drugs in the epidural. So I did all the preparation with my husband. We did hypnobirthing courses. We found a doula. We bit the bullet and we're like, you know what? This investment is worthy.
Yeah.
And the doula we found always met with us with her backup doula. So we basically got two doulas for one, which was awesome. And they in the same way that I had been seeing myself in business as being like the only person really listening, like not trying to shove you into some sort of box that says like this is how business is done, and more trying to help you articulate what your truth is and create out of that. That is what they did for me. They they pushed me. They had they they had me be empowered. They gave me the information to be empowered. Sometimes they were the only people in the entire team that was taking care of me. And at 37, you got a lot of folks taking care of you because everyone's scared for you. Like
Yeah.
I just hit the age for a geriatric pregnancy, and they were the only people actually giving me real information that I could do something with. And in the end, I did get to have that birth. I ended up getting to the hospital fully dilated. And what was hilarious was it was the night before the scheduled C-section. And I ended up having him about 8 hours before they were supposed to cut him out of me. And it was one of the most empowering, scary, transformative, life-changing experiences to know that I could face that fear, face that pain, and get through it and have someone there with me who had seen it done over and over again and knew it was going to be okay. And that was my doula. And I want to be that kind of person for people who are creating stuff that has never been seen before. Because we can't, like, there are all of these like templates and all of these people who think they know everything about business. And I'm sure they do know quite a lot. But we are in a time right now where we need answers from people that we don't know, probably don't normally listen to, from systems that don't exist. And we have to be in a position to empower those people, empower the people with those ideas, empower the people who understand how to make those systems to find their voice and to make those systems. And it's going to be for some people, it's a really scary journey to break out and allow themselves to be heard for the first time.
Mhm.
For some people, it's really scary to just that vulnerability of having something that is of you, that came from your idea, be out there in the world for other people to see. And breaking out of that, breaking out of those structures of permission and allowing yourself to be seen in that way, independent of anyone's approval. It is a scary, painful, transformative process. And that's what I'm here for, man. I love it.
It is. It is. It's scary to even after you realize it, to even know your worth, and
Mm,
then put a price on it, and
mm,
then ask someone to pay you that price.
yeah.
Um, even though that you are worthy. The corporate structure then told you, hey, you're worthy of 100,000. You're worthy of 100,000 per year. But you know, when we figure out our worthiness, we're worthy for $100,000 per month, as opposed to.
Mm, yeah.
So
Because
that's
the corporate structure is you're worthy of $100,000 per year as long as you remain a good little boy or girl and stay in this box for us and do this labor for us. And if you have ideas that go beyond this box, we're not actually all that interested. Thank you very much. Can you keep your mouth shut? We need you to do this thing in this box.
mhm.
Don't get distracted. And that, I think that was the thing that was hardest for me in the opera chorus. It wasn't the colleagues. I loved the colleagues. I loved the music. It was just like, if you have an idea that is not in your lane,
Yeah,
no one is interested.
yeah,
Keep
yeah.
your mouth shut. And it's just this like swallowing back of so much stuff. Ugh, it I'm glad I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's the hard part. That's the hardest part. Um, it's kind of crazy because even with artists, they're like, with artists, I'd rather have artistic control and make less money than
Mm,
have a corporate structure and have to be limited in a box making more money.
mm,
That's something that I heard all the time, which is true. If you're a real artist,
mm,
that's if you're a true artist. Now, if you're just a capitalist,
mm.
I guess it really doesn't matter, but being artistic. So speaking of that, segueing to your offerings,
Mm-hmm.
your program. I think it may be one out of many or one out of a few, but you have a program that someone can sit down with you one-on-one, tell you their story, and then you will complete that as a way to take it to market. Is that correct?
Somewhat, somewhat. So it depends on what level of package. But the first level of package, which I find really the most fun because I'm just all about finding the truth of things, is you sit and you tell me your story for 2 hours. I reflect back. I ask you I have researched you first, and I ask you questions to help guide you, to help really dig down and find those truths, find really why you're doing what you're doing, how it connects to all of your former life, all of these threads. Because a lot of people, it what I love about it is a lot of people never take the time to sit and to actually remember everything they've done. We're always thinking about the next thing. Every artist, every business owner, which I've been wanting to stop you and say, actually, business owners are artists. That's something that I truly believe. Um, and there's a certain freedom in realizing that. If you're a business owner, you are creating something that has never existed, and it's an expression of yourself in the form of a business. And if you think about it that way, a lot of business owners are some of the most effective artists there are. And because you're making something that actually has the power to change the structures of how we operate. But you got to think about what those structures are. You got to take responsibility for that. And that's what I'm here to help you do. But back to the tell me your story offer. I then come back to you in the basic package. I come back to you with a sort of your story in outline form. I've highlighted where I really feel like you're getting to the root of what your why is, to the truth of what you've been through. And then I also give you journal prompts to help you with writing your content or with whatever you've asked. It's like, if it's like, I'm trying to figure out what my next move is in life, I'm trying to figure out what I'm here for, that's what the journal prompts are about. If you're trying to figure out what you're going to write for the next few months on content, then that's what the journal prompts are about. If you're trying to even figure out what your content pillars are or what the pillars are in your business, that's what your journal prompts are about. Now, in the next tier, we actually have, I call it the story intensive because we have that 2 hours. I give you those journal prompts, and then we have a week of actually being on instant messenger together, giving each other voice memos and figuring out what is your value statement. And once we got your value statement, I can start flying and we can create a whole kind of brand. I like to think of it as a brand character study, but really it's like a brand identity that makes it easy for you to pitch yourself for podcasts, makes it easy for you to pitch yourself for press, really just kind of gives you a place where you can go for the kind of blurbs that you need, a short bio, a long bio, um, all that kind of material that you need to start spreading your visibility. That I've really watched entrepreneurs be like, I just don't have time to increase my visibility because I don't have this stuff written up in a way that makes sense. And I can't remake the wheel every time. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm here for. So yeah, that's the tell me your story. My other offer is the next move intensive, where we have an hour meeting at the beginning of a week where we dig down deep and we figure out, okay, what is it you're trying to make? We focus on, sometimes it is, we focus on one idea that's just kind of been bubbling, and we figure out what the next move is for that idea. And then I support you throughout the week through instant messenger as you're getting that next move done, so that by the end of the week, you really have something to show for it. And meanwhile, if there is copy you need out of that, you have access to me as a copywriter at a reduced rate. What I love about that is that I do not find that people are really having a hard time coming up with ideas. There's all this talk about like different strategies of ideation. And I'm like, who are these people that don't have the ideas? I mean, if you don't, then go to those strategies, please. But I run into these business owners who are just bubbling with ideas and they don't know which one to focus on. and every idea seems important and seems right now. And having someone to bounce that idea off of, having someone to bounce all of the ideas off of in the space of an hour and in the space of a week of instant messenger support gives you that like peace, because then we can identify what the core idea is that's really going to move you forward.
Hate to interrupt you. I would say that I personally would pay for that.
Good.
That is a service.
It's an offer.
That is that is a service that I would personally pay for. I don't think number one, I don't think that's anything that I've ever heard someone say that can be offered. But to be able to get some clarity based off what I've understand and came to recognize about just being a business person and being even, just a marketer, you do have a lot of ideas and then they begin to become jumbled. You want to get all of them. You want to deal with this one and deal with that one and then build something here and build. But there has to be someone on the outside looking in that say, okay, maybe, just maybe, if you focused on that, that would lead to this, and then that would lead to this.
Exactly. And that's how I think. It's what these are the conversations that, being on the back end of people's business as their copywriter and the creative director, these are the conversations that I ended up having that go so beyond copywriting, where I was like, this is the conversation I actually love, because now my client is calm. They don't have all this weight of all these ideas sitting on them, pulling them in all these different directions. They actually feel like, okay, I'm in touch with my truth. I'm in touch with what I really want. I know what comes next. And that's what I want for everyone. I want everyone to feel that way. And that's actually why I wrote my book, Birthing Ideas, the Idea Journal, because I thought, how can I break that process down where you're unloading not just your story, but all of your ideas into a place where the unloading is actually useful and not just the back of a napkin or a list of ideas.
Yeah.
It's actually, how can we unfold this idea and unwrap it and see what it's all about?
Yeah.
And then see, is it for now or is it for later? That's fine. It doesn't have to all be for now.
Right.
And then what is the community we're going to build around it? Who in our network already knows about pieces of this idea? Who in our network could use this idea? Is this an offer for one of them? And supports you in building that community, because I've got a whole community address book for every idea. So if working with me in a one-on-one setting is too much for you right now, I really recommend getting that book, journal.birthingideas.com. That is the perfect way to start. And if you want to work one-on-one with me, I'm just going to go. You haven't even asked me to say it, but I'm just going to say it. If you want to work with me, I really recommend you go ahead and book a clarity call, clarity.birthingideas.com, and we can see where you fit. I do the storytelling sessions, tell me your story, and I do the next move intensive. One thing I really love to do is to put them together, to bundle them for people, because then I know all about you. I know all your threads, and then I hear your ideas, and then I can draw from those threads and be like, here, these things connect. Do you see? This community already exists in your life. Do you see? That's the most fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. That is awesome. I think that that's something that is needed because you have segue into you have to kind of start, you have to change your name to something different than just copywriter. You're creative direct. Yeah. Okay, I get it. So is the bio included in that, or is it just basically branding, or you use the bio to tell that story? or is the bio like separate?
In the extended package, in the storytelling intensive, the bio is included.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. What about socials? Where can these people find you and follow you?
Yeah. You can find me on, I'm most active on Instagram and Facebook, um, at Gwendolyn Kuhlman. That's Kuhlmann, at Gwendolyn Kuhlman on Instagram. And just search for me on Facebook. You'll find me.
For the entrepreneurs that's out there that's building funnels and doing marketing and such, do you do white label services? I know it's just you by yourself at the moment, but do you
Mm-hmm.
offer white label services? Meaning that they
Oh,
can hire you, they offer the services, but then hire you to kind of work with their clients.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Um, love doing that actually. It's not something I hang out on the big banner, but it one dream I have is to be able to partner with um especially with OBMs and business mentors because one thing like I had this wonderful messaging container I was in for the second half of last year where which is part of how I discovered that this is what this is. I discovered how to call this the idea doula. And I've since realized like it took me most of that container to figure out what this idea was. What if I had an idea doula and a next move intensive that I did right before this container started? So I knew what the heck I was in the container to figure out the messaging about. Like, I would love to be able to partner with business mentors and with people who are managing online business managers, because I think that there's a place there where the idea doulaing is that in between step that makes their offering that much more potent because the people coming in are clear about what they're here for.
Right,
It's like, I know what I'm here for now, and you're going to guide me to do that.
right.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. That's networking. That's
That's networking
community.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Next question. Will you provide, it's a two-part question. Will you be providing group coaching as well as will the idea doula in the future become the idea doulas?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, uh, as far as group coaching, right now, I really love the one-on-one experience. My first attempt to make something that a lot of people could use without me right there is the journal. Um, I have, my little creator brain. I have been rolling over ideas about how to make a group container work doing this kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, so you'll be the first to know when I figure that out.
Okay. Hey, I
And it might
might
just
figure
be
it
a
out
matter
before
of
you.
just giving it a try.
I might figure it out before you and give you the idea because I can see it.
Oh, oh man, if you see it, tell me.
Yeah, you already have the book. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And then they go
Mm.
to the next step. That's it.
Ah, good point. We're working through the book together.
Yep.
I
Yep.
love that.
That's
All
it.
right. Well, um, then the answer is yes, because that was so obvious. Thank you for telling me. Oh my goodness.
See, that's what I do. I can stand on the outside and I can see too. Right?
Exactly. And we
We all
need
need
people in
that.
our lives like that.
Yep.
I think we're so isolated especially as online business owners, especially post-pandemic, because like so many of us went online in a pandemic setting, and we don't know what it was like to have that kind of business without a pandemic. So to have that kind of business when all of our lives wasn't just online. And so now a lot of us are having to learn that, and a lot of us can just get stuck behind a computer
Yeah.
and forget that business is a community action and not even really know how to build that community. So I'm so glad to hear that you're also a great reflector.
That's right.
As far as the idea doulas, I mean, sure. I don't know if idea doula it's what I call myself. Um, I don't know if it's something that I really want to claim as only mine. I think it should be I think it just like coaching, it should be just a new industry, a new, a new like set of people that just, that's what they do. You help birth ideas. These people help birth people. These people guide people, like these people guide people into death doulas, idea doulas, birth doulas. Like I I think that there is there is a need for this kind of work in all different facets of our lives. And I've just identified one facet that needs it.
Yeah, got it. Definitely. Um, Another thing that you can take with you that I kind of see from the outside looking in is the fact that copywriting has lended itself to AI, pretty much like everything else. However, that is not what you're offering. You know, you have differentiated yourself, and this is more of a personal touch.
Hmm.
So
And I didn't say that, but AI coming out while I was still on maternity leave, while I'd kind of put my business on hold to just be mom. Um, I had the time, like sitting in the nursing chair with the baby and looking at my phone and exploring what was happening with AI and thinking, I love that this doesn't scare me one bit.
yeah,
I love that it feels like this sets me free to do what I really love to do. Because you cannot go to the robot without a clear idea.
sure can.
If you if you're going to the robot asking what to do, if you're going to the robot trying to figure out what's a good idea, trying to get clear, then you're going to do what the robot tells you to do. And you're going to come up with something that is bland and chewed up and done before in some way, because the robot has just processed everything our culture and our world had done before and had to offer them. But that's not what you want to make. You want to make something that's never been done before. So, yeah, I think one class I have thought about doing as like a group seminar that um, just needs to get made is like coming to the robot with clarity, how to leverage the robot for those ideas. I think that is one of the most powerful things that the Tell Me Your Story and the Next Move can do for you.
Yeah,
Um, I just got done writing a grant that it could have taken me so much longer, but GPT-4 was my friend because I had been talking to, my friend calls him Chat GPT. So I've been talking to Chad, and I've been talking to Chad for weeks about the project I'm working on. It's another artistic project. And And so I was able to go to that chat and be like, okay, like, here are the other pieces that you need to know for this grant. Now, give me the answer to this question, knowing what you know about my project. And it was the most incredible feeling to be like, I've already done the work. I've already done the hard work. I hold the vision. The vision is the most important piece of the work.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So yeah.
That's what people have to understand. Yeah. It's the way that you manipulate the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it
definitely.
was never any different. The same, like calculator, abacus, like all the way up to ChatGPT. It will never be different. Or, I mean, never say never, but I do not see it being different. Humans are the ones who come up with the new ideas.
That's right. And something very profound that you said, unless they can think into the future, they only know what's already been programmed. And we're trying to go forward, not stop at
Mm-hmm.
the current. So
Yeah.
you are definitely right about that.
Yeah.
Dylan, I've had a good time tonight.
Me
I've,
too.
I've kept you over the time. I know I have. I usually keep these short and sweet, but this was so interesting. And been sounds like cool conversation.
I love it. I love it.
So I'm going to say good night for the night, but I am guaranteed that I'll be speaking with you again because I'm definitely going to follow you and see what you're up to. And
Awesome.
later on down the line, invite you back to the show so we can revisit and revamp everything.
Love it. Thank you so much, Rashad.
All right. You have a great night and take care of them kids and much success at everything you do from here on out.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.